Hello, guys, welcome back. Hope you all are good, and I'm really so delighted to take another class for you guys after a very long time. So, from this video, we are going to learn a new supplementary from Unit 5. The title of the supplementary is A Day in 2889 of an American Journalist, written by Jules Verne. So this story is quite interesting because this story is about the future. As you can see from the title itself, the story is going to explain and also tell us how a future will look like in 2889. Okay, fine, let's get started. So, the author of this story is Jules Verne, and he was born in 1828 and lived between 1828 and 1905. And he was a French poet, playwright, and novelist, and was very famous for his futuristic adventure novels. And people used to call him as a father of science fictional writer because he had a very great interest towards writing about the science fictional stories. And people sometimes used to call him as a prophet or predictor of technology because whatever he has written in his novels and fictional stories, many of the things have been invented after his death. Sadly, he was not there to see all this fictional things that he has invented, but still, whatever he has said, many things have come into practice as after his death. And a few of his famous works are moon landing as well as Paris in the 20th century. So if you talk about moon landing, he said that in his fictional stories, he talked about a person going to the moon and also the spaceship reaching to the Pacific. This thing has also happened in reality after his death. And he, in is one of his novel, he has also predicted internet in 1863. And when in his Paris in the 20th century novel, he depicts about the details of modern lives like skyscrapers are nothing but the tallest buildings that you see in the movies, and also you can see a lot of skyscrapers around the world. Television, maglev trains are nothing but the bullet trains that we talk about now, which is also invented in Japan right now. Computers and culture preoccupied with the internet, which we are an example for this. Like, we are completely occupied with the internet and not socially active with the people, but socially active in the internet. So this is about the author because he was really quite famous. As I told you, was right, he has written many futuristic adventure novels. So let's get start with the with the story, like what is the story is all about, and who are the characters of this story. So the story talks about the people who live in 20th century, and they are surfeited as they are with marvels. They are indifferent to the presence of each new marvel. To them all seem natural. Here, surfeit means the state of being more than full. So marvel means wonder. So in future, everything will look like a wonder, right? Because there will be lot and lot of technological advancement. So people who live there, they will be more comfortable and content with what they have. They might have more than what they require. Okay. So, and they couldn't find any difference between each new marvel that they see. For them, everything looked so natural and also the same. So the story revolves around only one day in the year 2889, especially July 25th. And the story takes place in the office block of the managing editor of the Earth Herald. This Earth Herald is the world's largest newspaper in 2889. So in this futuristic story, this is written in 1889. The writer, he describes and also he visualizes how a world will look like after 1,000 years later. And in the world of technological advancement where newspaper are not printed but spoken. So like in future, newspaper are not printed, instead it will be spoken. Say for example, reporting in television, people used to report, right? So we can say that as an example. So let's see the characters of this story. And one more important thing. So in this story is a very very big story. If you go and look at the original science fiction original novel of this story. So in your book it has been concised, and they have given a part of the story. Excerpt mean a passage selected from a larger work. So we are going to read an excerpt from the original novel. Okay. So let us see the character of this story. So before that, let me tell you in brief, what this story is all about. So as I told you, the story is written about, the story explain about only one day in future, right? A day in 2889, right? By an American journalist. So who is the journalist? The journalist name is Mr. Francis Bennett. He is the director of the news channel, or else newspaper channel, and the what is the name of the newspaper channel? Earth Herald. And Mrs. Edith is the wife of Mr. Francis Bennett, and we have different reporters. So in this story, in news and all, we used to see that from different channel, different regional news, we can able to see it, right? So instead of different regional news in this story, the news will be conveyed and communicated from different planets in our solar system. So we have Cash, he reports from another planet, and we have Corley, he also a reporter from another planet in our solar system. We have second inventor, he invents something new in this story, which I'll be explaining it later. Aero coachman, he is a kind of a driver in the futuristic model of vehicle. So in futuristic model vehicle, we have a car that look like an aeroplane. So that can also travel on the road. At the same time, it can fly in the air. So this is about this character of the story. So let's get started with the story now. A day in 2889 of an American journalist. That morning, Francis Bennett awoke in rather a bad temper. This was 8 days since his wife had been in France, and he was feeling a little lonely. As soon as he awoke, Francis Bennett switched on his phono-teleport, whose wires led to the house he owned in the Champs-Élysées. So, the story starts with our main character, Mr. Francis Bennett, who is the director of the Earth news channel Earth Herald, the world's largest news channel. Remember? So, while he was waking up in a very bad mood. Why was he in a very bad mood? Because his wife uh, had been to France, and it's been almost 8 days. So he was feeling really little lonely. So as soon as he wakes up, what he does, he switch on his phono-telephone. So what is this phono-telephone? The phono-telephone is a kind of a video call that we make. So phone, like in our Android mobile, we use our WhatsApp, or with the help of Android mobile, we make video call, right? Likewise, this phono-telephone is that transmit both voice at the same time picture for the personal conversation. So if you look at this picture here, you can see Mr. Bennett is holding a telephonic wire. At the same time, in the monitor, he can able to see his wife. So that is what phono-telephone. Okay. So this phono-telephone wires connect to the house that he owns. He has a house at Paris, and Champs-Élysées is a place. So it's a prestigious avenue. We can say it's a kind of an apartment where he has all kind of activities like famous coffee shops, cinemas, and shops. Like in apartment, we have all these things, right? Cinema, shops, and supermarket. Likewise, this Champs-Élysées is a prestigious avenue that contains all these things. So let's see what happens later. His name, spoken by that sweet voice, gave a happier turn to Francis Bennett's mood. He quickly jumped out of bed and went to his mechanized dressing room. 2 minutes later, without needing the help of a valet, the machine deposited him, washed, shaved, shot, dressed, and buttoned from top to toe. On the threshold of his office, the day's work was going to begin. So earlier we saw that he was having a telephotic conversation with his wife. So as soon as he hears his wife's voice, he was so happier and he jumps out of his bed and goes to this mechanized dressing room. So in the mechanized dressing room, he doesn't require a manservant. Valet means a manservant. Okay. So he doesn't require a manservant. This mechanized robot does all the things. It washes, shaves his beard, and dress him up and button him up tip to toe. Sorry, from top to toe. So he was also on the threshold of his office, which means it's about to start. His office work is about to start. So that is what threshold of his office mean here. So Mr. Francis Bennett got dressed and it was already his office time, so he was getting ready, right? Let's see what happens later. Francis Bennett went on into the reporter's room. His 1500 reporters placed before an equal number of telephones were passing on to subscribers the news which had come in during the night from the four quarters of the earth. In addition to his telephone, each reporter has in front of him a series of commutators which allow him to get into communication with this or that telephotic line. So what happened? So he got dressed up and he enters into his reporter's room. Remember, he owns world's largest newspaper or news channel company named Earth Herald, right? So he enters into his reporter's room. There 1500 reporters are there and everyone is holding on to a telephone. Every individual reporter were having telephone, and 1500 reporters are from different parts of the planets and at the same time from different planets too. So they were passing the information to the subscribers. They were passing the news to the subscribers. Who are subscribers? The viewers or the subscribers. So if you take an YouTube channel, every YouTube channel will have different certain numbers of subscribers, right? So those subscribers are viewers, so they go and watch the news or whatever information that YouTuber conveyed, right? Likewise, so from different part of the reporters, the news have been conveyed or communicated to the subscriber, which they have already collected from the previous night, from the four quarter of the earth, from all around the earth. So நம்ம பூமியில் இருக்க எல்லா இடத்துல இருந்து கிடைச்ச information they were passing on. So in addition to that, each reporter in front of them a series of commutators are there. So we can take this image as an example. Here this mic is a telephone as well as this camera as a commutator. So this commutator helps to show the site of the event that takes place. So every individual reporter, in addition to the telephone, they also had this commutator so that the subscribers all around the world as well as from the different parts of the planet, they can able to see the event at the same time hear the news too. Then Mr. Francis Bennett is questioning one of the 10 astronomical reporters. So astronomical reporters are people who report about the planets, different planets. Okay. So because why it was so famous, because people, I mean in the year 2889, they discover many things in the galaxy. So stellar world means galaxy. So then Mr. Francis Bennett is questioning to Cash, what have you got? For that, Mr. Cash is a person who is an astronomical reporter, one of the 10 astronomical reporter. He replies that he got photo telegrams from Mercury, Venus, and Mars. Then for that, Mr. Francis Bennett is telling it's quite interesting. And what about Jupiter? That's what he asked the question to again Cash. For that, he says Mr. Cash is telling, uh, uh, still now we didn't get anything. Nothing is so far because we are not able to understand the signals the Jovians make. Here, Jovians are the people who live in the planet Jupiter. Maybe, perhaps, maybe our Cache is again telling that maybe our signals that we send them has not been reached to the Jovians, has not reached the Jupiter. Likewise, Mr. Cash is replying to Mr. Francis Bennett. So then Mr. Francis Bennett is asking, aren't you getting some result from the moon at any rate? So for that, Mr. Cash is, reporter Cash is telling, not yet, Mr. Bennett.